Hello everyone, I am Bhuvan Verma, your host for STEM Talks with Leaders. Power of change is always in front of us. Challenges are cornerstones of problem solving. Through STEM Talks with Leaders, we try to peel a layer or two to understand mantra for breakthrough and turnaround. Robo Shiksha Kendra, built across India with the help of our CSR partners, help students overcome challenges both in learning and application. The idea is to look at as many different scenarios and examine them in a way that we have rarely examined them in. To explore the human effect with the view that fishing rod is the minimum technology of the past and AI, robotics, machine learning is of today. Today, we have someone very special for you, a Superman from the industry, a stalwart, Ashwini Saxena, CEO of JSW Foundation, an organization which has a long track of building communities and enriching lives for the past 3 decades. Hello, Ashwini ji, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much. I hope all well.
All right. Okay. Diving straight into our questions, Ashwini ji, my students are very curious to know, what are you tinkering with these days?
Interesting question to begin with. What I'm tinkering these days with as an individual are very different. I don't know whether the students would be interested in that. But as an institution, what we are tinkering these days, and I'm really, really hooked onto it, is about waste management. Because waste has come up as a big issue in the entire country, and it's no more a rural phenomena or an urban phenomena. And we are trying to see, the thought that I'm tinkering on is that, is waste a technology issue, or is waste a logistics issue, or is it a mix of both, or is it going to be solved through awareness, or is it going to be solved by giving actual solutions? So therefore, we are working on a number of options to see whether technology can, play some role, whether logistics or managerial inputs can bring in something about it. Because at the end of the day, we want our cities and our villages to be clean.
Right. Absolutely. Waste management, recycling is the key to a sustainable future. Our students will really go out and Google about this subject even more. Okay, Ashwini, to our next question. Can you tell our students why are industry leaders interested in STEM and STEAM education?
Okay, so see, industry is about creating economic surplus. It is about generating wealth. And how would you generate wealth if you're not focusing on science, technology, maths, arts? I mean, these are the basic facets. These are the basic tenets through which you are going to create an economic surplus. This is the only manner through which you are going to generate businesses. This is only the knowledge through which you'll be able to build steel plants. You'll be able to produce energy for the world. So, of course, science and technology cannot be taken away from our lives. And not just economic growth. I would say scientific bent of mind gives you the ability to analyze things and try and bring a positive change in your lives around. I think that is the reason why STEM is so important for industry as well.
Fantastic. Yes, STEM is the backbone to a lot of things that we do, and our girls excel in that activity. However, we've seen that, they're still discouraged from taking up STEM careers in the future. That make only 28% of the work stream in STEM subjects. How do you think can STEM labs play a critical role in Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao campaign?
See, these are all old mindsets which have to go away. And I'm sure when our girls are becoming world-class boxers and world-class athletes and world-class whatnot, we must remember that they deserve that place. It is their rightful space in the society, and we can't keep them away from that for too long. And so therefore, Beti Bachao, though I don't know. I mean, Beti Bachao is something which I'm still not comfortable with. Why is it that a Beti is more precious than a Beta, if you ask me? So Bachao though is like, something too I would say low level, shallow level kind of a thing. But Beti Padhao is an important thing for your household, you are going to deprive half of your household from, contributing to the household's income, to the household's prosperity, household's social development. So Beti Padhao to is pertinent, and girls are much better than men. I can say it with a lot of, this thing, that girls are much better in terms of science and technology. Their ability to do certain things is much better than men. So I think it is their rightful place. We'll have to give it to them.
Definitely, definitely. So Ashwini, to our next question, how is CSR helping accelerate access to STEM education and system strengthening?
See, we as JSW Foundation have focused on education in a big way, because I think that's the key to unlock the potential of the country. That's the future of the country. So science, technology, mathematics, and incidentally, mathematics and comprehension, these are two basic abilities, these are two basic skills which are usually lacking in our country. I mean, that is what the various reports tell. So we have a lot of emphasis on comprehension skills and mathematical skills in our schools where we work, and we do a whole lot of programs with various partners, specifically emphasizing on three skills. One is comprehension skills, second is mathematical skills, third is communication skills, and fourth is life skills, because that's equally, or I would say more important than whatever other curricular things that the children do. And these are the programs that we carry out across all 11 states where we operate, with government schools, with panchayat schools, within our own Jindal Vidya Mandirs. I think that's been the focus. We've also established a number of STEM labs, but I would say that how they can use them more and more, how they can be more hands-on in those science labs. I think that's where the future lies, and that's how the new critical thinking mass is going to come out of it.
Very eloquently put, how STEM labs are helping various facets of students, not just academic, but also personality and employability wise. Okay, to our next questions. Our students are very curious to know from you, Ashwini, how important is hands-on training for school students?
Oh, God knew that you would require hands. That's why he gave you those two hands. If everything would have been done only mentally, and I'm sure, we would not have required hands. The joy of, you may study centrifugal force in the most eloquent manner on a PowerPoint or whatever, but till you do not go and work on a potter's wheel, trying to handle, a small amount of clay to make a small glass or a cup out of it, you will never understand centrifugal force. This I can bet. So science is about experience. Science is about trying it out. Till you do not soil your fingers, till you do not try it with your own hands, you will never do that. I still enjoy the first radio that I did with my own soldering iron. So to me, that was the most precious thing that I ever possessed. So the joy of doing things on your own cannot be taken up. That's most important part of any education.
Absolutely. That is such a powerful example, Ashwini. It will resonate with our students and give them a moment of meaning to understand what hands-on learning is all about. Okay, to my next question. Our students are curious to know from you, which is that one subject, topic, activity that you have done by self-learning?
Handling computers. I never learned computers. Computers were considered to be very expensive instruments. And therefore, I'll be very honest with you, my first lessons on PowerPoint, Excel, etc. came from the executive assistant of my executive director in an organization where I started working. And I used to stand behind him, see how he used to do things, and then I used to try them out at my own computer. And very soon it became that I used to do things faster than him, and he used to come and complain, "Hey, how could you do it so quickly?" I said, "Guru Gud Chela Shakkar is, quite an old adage. So I've been able to learn from you, but now I have mastered it so well that now I can do it without your help." So I think, as I said in the beginning, trying with your own hands, being ready to accept failures, being ready to try it out, take that risk, I think that's very important. Wow. So I learned computers only, through self-learning mode. I never took a formal, computer education anywhere.
Fantastic, fantastic. And this will really inspire a lot of our students who are practicing computing skills at our STEM labs. Okay, to our next question. Ashwini, can you tell us which is that one STEM challenge that our students will have to solve for in the future?
I think, Bhuvan, to me, the most important part is that as they would study more and more science and they would understand technology, they would start realizing that that is not the only set of answers this world requires. Science, again, as a subject, technology or engineering would also have certain limitations. So for any subject to be understood in its full detail, you would also be able to understand its own limitations. स्वामी विवेकानंद ने एक जगह कहीं कहा था कि जहाँ विज्ञान खत्म होता है वहां से अध्यात्म शुरू होता है, वहां से फिलॉसफी शुरू होती है. And we'll see that how the challenges also that have been posed because of science and technology in our world have always been solved only with the right kind of basic human principles behind them. So I think with STEM education, they would have to be more and more self-aware, and they would have to see that what are the limitations of the education that they're attaining, and how they can solve some of those questions that are going to ring in their minds. I think that's the biggest challenge.
Absolutely. The challenges will keep on emerging. We have to keep abreast with the knowledges around us so that we can not only understand them, but to solve them also. And that brings me to my next question, which is that one hobby that you pursue to build your problem solving stamina?
So I would say I have two hobbies which are interconnected. One is photography and the other one is music. And I think music has always helped me, A, to manage my stress, because stress is an integral part of your life today. B, I think music also helps me attain that abstract thinking, thinking out of the blue, as we say. So the kind of permutations, combinations that exist in our Indian classical music, they kind of train your brain. In fact, I read it also somewhere. They say that those children who were subjected to Beethoven's symphonies, they were able to solve mathematical problems much better than other people, because the patterns of music help you develop a much better insight into permutations and combinations, and therefore the entire mathematical capability goes up.
Absolutely. Rhythm is very important in the education that we pursue, and music definitely helps us build that rhythm. Okay, to my next question. Ashwini, my students are very curious to know, which is your favorite STEM and STEAM subject and why?
I was very fond of electronics. Very fond of it. As I said, making my first radio set, those valve sets that used to be there in those 70s, I remember using that soldering iron, sometimes the wire not coming through. I think I was very fascinated with electronics, and even today I've tried, when an ICU, when a chip set in my car has gone wrong, I've actually taken it out, opened it, and tried my hands as to how I can repair it, because this happens even for small little things at home, electrical gadgets. Today we have even water purifiers with a small little chipset there. And the guy would simply come and say, no, sir, isko to replace karna padega. Okay, if it has to be replaced, you are going to throw it away in any case. Let me see, can I do something about it? Believe me, Bhuvan, I've saved a lot of money by trying my hands and those things and repairing those things on my own. So that child in me, that the fun of using a soldering iron or fixing up a wire here and there, that has stood with me, and I still enjoy doing it.
Certainly, certainly. So students, besides, Ashwini's passion for engineering, he also is teaching us, lelo panga, do something different,
Scientists are the only ones who can take risk.
Right.
Science teaches you to take risk. If you do not take risks, you will not be able to experiment. Science is all about experimentation. Experimentation means you have to take a risk, you have to document it, and you have to analyze and understand from it that what went wrong, so that you don't do it again. That's a very profound lesson for your life also.
Absolutely. And that brings us to our next question also. We do so many things, with reason, with substance, with recording and documentation, but there are failures, there are rejections. Can you tell our students, how do you deal with failures or rejections?
See, I think it may sound philosophical, but I'm sure children will also imbibe it, reach that level at some point of time. When you start taking yourselves too seriously, then it is difficult to handle failure or rejection. Be humble. To me, I think humility is very important. Be humble. If you are humble, you would automatically realize that you are not the best one. And so therefore you are bound to fail. You are bound to get rejected. I appeared for medical entrance, tried 3 times, failed miserably. And then I thought, no, let's move on. Maybe I'm not made for this. Let me try out something else. So what all can I do? What all am I good at? What am I bad at? So whatever things I know I'm not very good at, let me not be wishful about it and try doing it. So the not to do list, is something which I created for myself. Never shared it with anyone. But internally, I knew that these are the things I'm not made for. So let me not try my hands at that. I think that self-awareness helps you overcome sense of rejection or failure, because you should know very well that you are bound to fail. Nobody, succeeded in anything and everything that that person did. That is only possible with God. Only God can do that. We can't do that. We are human beings. So let's be humble about it. Let's be honest about it. I think that's how one can deal with rejection and failure.
Very, very well put. And students, I hope you are taking notes. There are very key constituents of how to deal with challenges, failures, and rejections that Ashwini has mentioned. They're very critical for those who are participating in World Robotics Olympiad at India STEM Foundation. All right. Okay. Moving on to our next question. Ashwini, you're very well read and you've got a vast experience across domains, across verticals. Which book are you reading these days?
2 books, in fact. And I'm reading one paragraph or two from one, the other one again, and trying to, combine the two together. One is a book called Nudge. So this, and the book is about, how you can create nudges so that people can make right choices in their lives. And so it's an interesting, political economy, it's a new dimension of decision making, how public policy can be framed. Simple things like the default settings that you get on your computer. Those default settings are relevant for most people. That's how they came upon it. But there are opportunities of you tweaking it to your requirements, and that is there is a nudge there that they would do the default settings based on their requirements. And if you have to be courageous enough, then you have to change those settings according to your requirements. So whether you want to be led by certain decisions taken by somebody else on your behalf, or whether you want to take that decision making to yourselves. I think that's one. And how people would typically take default settings, as the best settings for themselves is something, this book is all about. And I think it's very interesting to see how we as, people who have the responsibility of helping people in taking right decisions in their lives, how can we actually tweak them so that it is for the larger public good. The second book that I'm very fascinated about, and unfortunately I've not been able to finish it completely, is this book called Poor Economics, which is by Arijit Banerjee and Esther Duflo, where they are very, honestly sharing a lot of small little experiments that they've done. How they've done small little experiments for poverty alleviation, control groups, etc. And they've very subtly brought out, a lot of insights as to how people think, how people react, what are the concerns that they have. So it's a very humanistic way of looking at how development should be taking place. And since this is my area of work, to me, these 2 books right now, currently, these are my interesting reads. And if I may have another minute to share, one book which I'm still not fully through with, and which I find is a little overwhelming also for me, is a book which is an anthology of discussions between various scientists. And this particular book that I got hold of is around genetics, biology, because, I always remember that I never was able to become a doctor, but that science has always intrigued me. So I was reading about it. And a very interesting anecdote for the students, who may or perhaps may not be reading it in that book, is that, the scientist tells that, these cells that we have in our eyes, through which we are able to see color, it is the same cell which is available in the phytoplanktons in the South Atlantic Ocean. And by these cells, these phytoplanktons are able to carry out photosynthesis, and by photosynthesis, they are able to create food for themselves. And believe me, after reading this, I could not sleep for at least 2-3 nights because it kept on haunting me. That do you imagine that what kind of genetic engineering is possible, that if in the human eye, we change those cells which are in our rods and cones in our eye, and if those cells can be tweaked to start doing photosynthesis, then perhaps we human beings would not require any food to be consumed. We would simply go stand outside in the sun. And because of photosynthesis, we will get our energy, we'll get our food. And that would mean that the entire alimentary canal would become a vestigial organ over a period of time. I mean, the more I imagined about it, what could be the permutations, combinations, what could be the possibilities of this kind of a genetic engineering. And, it was quite fascinating at the same time, and also, I would say, overwhelming at the same time.
Absolutely. So very interesting reads for our students who are enjoying their summer vacations. Please go out and look for the titles on Amazon, Google, and other platforms that you access. Thank you, Ashwini, for sharing very powerful insights and experiences to help our students appreciate the emerging ascendancy of STEM and STEAM education, encouraging us to ask for the unknown so that we can imagine the way you described it so beautifully. Today, we learned about different obstacles in STEM education and how with perseverance and determination, we can overcome them. We also heard Ashwini speak about how STEM and robotics can be connected with upliftment of girl students and why that is important. We ask questions, some basic questions, other life upon death. Answers may seem after the fact or out of the world, but it all constitutes how lives are lived. Students, through our CSR programs, our teams have educated and trained thousands of you across the country. The ideas pursued in STEM labs and Robo Shiksha Kendra are innovative, dynamic, and induce self-motivation. Students, it is our ability to put ourselves in the position of a third person as an impartial observer that we are able to assess objective, subjective, qualitative, and quantitative merits of the challenges. The STEM talks with leaders is part of that idea, and it is the kind of foundation on which we are trying to build our knowledges. We thank our viewers for sharing this video with their parents and peers. Until next time, namaste.